Hey everyone, welcome to the interview communication series. This lecture is a part of that series where we deal with how to handle communication in interviews, be it tech interviews, HR interviews, or general interviews. So today's topic is more about understanding the psychology of the interviewer. It's very important कि हम ये समझ पाएं कि interviewer हमें से क्या चाहता है, right? So that we can modify our responses, we can practice our responses according to that. And I have seen many freshers, especially focusing on answers and cramming the answers कि इसके आंसर क्या होगा, इसका आंसर क्या होगा, but they are not able to understand or they do not spend time understanding कि as a fresher interviewer जो है आपके सामने वो क्या चाहता है. So without further delay, let's jump into today's topic, which is understanding the psychology of the interviewer. We'll understand what does an interviewer want, and then we'll dwell into some of the examples that I have picked from the internet to tell you how a good introduction looked like. So great. So if I ask you, what is an interview? So can someone tell me what is the purpose of an interview? Pause this video here. I'm giving you 1 minute time. Think and come up with an answer in your mind कि interview का purpose क्या है. Okay, I hope आपने सोच लिया है अपनी तरफ से कि इंटरव्यू का क्या पर्पस है. Let me tell you what is the purpose of an interview. The purpose of an interview is threefold. Can you do the job? आप जॉब कर सकते हो या नहीं कर सकते हो जिसके लिए आप इंटरव्यू दे रहे हो. Will you love the job? Will you show interest in doing the job and not just doing it for the sake of doing it? And can we tolerate working with you? That's the minimum bar कि हम आपको झेल पाएंगे कि नहीं झेल पाएंगे. Anything above that, beyond that is great. So strength, motivation, fit. Again I repeat, can you do the job? जहाँ पे आपके टेक्निकल स्किल्स या जो भी सब्जेक्ट मैटर नॉलेज है वो चेक की जा रही है. Will you love the job? आपके पर्सनैलिटी एट्रीब्यूट्स चेक किए जा रहे हैं कि आप पैशनेट हो या नहीं हो इस जॉब के लिए. Why are you applying for this job and these kind of stuff. And last, can we tolerate working with you? Mostly HR is trying to see कि आप फिट बैठोगे कि नहीं बैठोगे कंपनी में, राइट. रिमेंबर, इफ यू आर देयर टू गेट द जॉब, द इंटरव्यूअर हियर देयर और HR देयर इज ऑल्सो ट्राइंग टू फाइंड अ पर्सन. दे नीड अ पर्सन फॉर देयर कंपनी एंड दे वुड नॉट वांट टू हायर समवन जो कि 6 महीने बाद छोड़ के चला जाए या उनको 6 महीने बाद निकालना पड़े. सो द थर्ड पॉइंट इज एज इंपॉर्टेंट एज द फर्स्ट पॉइंट. सो मेक श्योर द मोटिवेशन ऑफ एन इंटरव्यूअर इज नॉट, or the purpose of an interview is not कि job चाहिए. Obviously your motivation is job चाहिए, but for interviewer, strength, motivation, fit. Can I do the job? Will I love the job? Can they tolerate me working with them? And every answer, every response of yours is getting judged on these 3 parameters. Right? Great. So आपको एज सिंपल एज दैट आपको ये कन्विंस करना है कि आप जॉब कर सकते हो, आपको जॉब जो भी जॉब है वो पसंद आएगा, एंड यू विल बी अ गुड टीम प्लेयर. आप यू विल बी एन एसेट एंड नॉट अ लायबिलिटी. सो एज यू नो, प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर एन इंटरव्यू के लिए 2 चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट हैं. इफ यू वॉन्ट टू कम्युनिकेट दीज 3 थिंग्स, यू नीड टू नो योर सेल्फ, इंटरेस्ट, स्किल्स, पर्सनैलिटी प्रेफरेंसेज, वैल्यूज, मोटिवेशंस, एंड यू नीड टू नो द कंपनी. So if go to their website, check out their past hires and all that. In today's world, there is not a single company जो आपको LinkedIn पे नहीं मिलेगी, जिसके employees आपको LinkedIn पे नहीं मिलेंगे. So make sure you're good. Even if you're applying for 50 companies, I know it will be time consuming, but you need to go to their LinkedIn pages and see what type of people are they hiring, what are they writing in their LinkedIn post, किस तरह के values, motivations वो कर रहे हैं, किस तरह के future plans वो LinkedIn post में डाल रहे हैं कि we are trying to do this, that. And the first part, know yourself. Many freshers take it trivial कि अपने बारे में तो पता ही है, बता देंगे interest, skill, personality, preference. Don't trivialize it. Make sure you are making a chart out of it. Writing interest in order of priority, writing interest, skills in order of priority, personality, preferences, and values and motivations. Pick 2 or 3. We'll discuss them, but pick 2 or 3 that will suit you and that you will show in the interview. राइट, डोंट टेक इट कैजुअली कि अपने बारे में तो पता ही है, बता देंगे, राइट. ग्रेट. So every interview question is a three-part question. Either it is who are you, why are you a great fit or benefit for us, why should we hire you? Either this or whatever the question is, maybe the tech question or something like that. How does that benefit the company or role? And whatever the question is, and why should we hire you? And you need to answer these three questions. You need to satisfy these three needs of them in every interview question. Right. As freshers, remember you are not only getting hired because of your skills are limited, right? As freshers, आपने जो college में सीखा है, it's very limited, right? They are going to invest time and money in you. You need to show them you are worth that investment, and that's it. And for that, passion needs to come out. So let me answer this. For example, if I am interviewing for a teacher role, let's say you are taking my interview for a teacher role for this interview course. So I'll say, hi, I'm Shubham Gupta. I'm currently the head of product at BBR for 5 years, formerly content and curriculum associate at Avanti Learning Center, another tech startup, and I have done my bachelor's and master's from IIT Delhi Electronics 2014 batch. Why am I a great fit for this? I have both technical and communication experience, and that's what is very important. Many people who teach interview skills have either tech experience or communication experience, but we need both. Been there, done that. I have seen both sides of this. I have taken a lot of interviews, I've given a lot of interviews, so I can relate to both sides. And experience over 10 plus years, have dealt with thousands of students from different backgrounds, so I can customize according to their needs. Why should you hire me? I have network connections in the industry, both personal and professionals in the tech industry, which is an asset in this context. Can definitely empathize with students. I have studied in a Hindi medium school. I have faced through the same troubles that you might be encountering in communication, especially in interviews. So I can definitely relate to the challenges that you are facing right now, and have been in education for 10 plus years, genuine passion for helping and success. So this is something, again, an example of how I will pitch myself in front of you if I'm giving an interview for an interview teacher role. Now, if you see, why am I great fit for this? और आप पूछोगे why should you hire me? Difference क्या है? आप quality तो बता रहे हो. So why am I great fit for this में qualities वो हैं जो उस exact role के लिए, subject matter knowledge के लिए matter करते हैं. For example, अगर आप tech role के लिए apply कर रहे हो, you will see that कि मुझे ये languages आती हैं, मैंने ये projects किए हैं and all those kind of stuff, right? Subject matter knowledge. Why should you hire me? आपको बाकी candidates से अलग set करेगा, right? यहाँ पे आपके personality traits आएंगे कि मैं बहुत hard working हूँ, structured हूँ, organized हूँ. This will set you apart from other candidates. As freshers, mostly ये आपका जो section है वो same रहने वाला है. लिमिटेड प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं आपके पास, राइट? सेम लैंग्वेजेस होती हैं अगर आप बैक एंड डेवलपर, फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर के लिए कर रहे हो या बीडी रोल्स के लिए कर रहे हो. बट ये होना चाहिए, बट दिस विल नॉट गेट यू देयर. व्हाट विल गेट यू देयर इज दिस पार्ट कि ये है जो बेर मिनिमम चाहिए आपको, उसके एडिशनल ये मेरे पास क्वालिटीज़ हैं, एंड दैट्स वाई यू शुड हायर मी. दैट्स द डिफरेंस. दोनों जगह आप क्वालिटीज़ बता रहे हो, बट यहाँ पे आप अपनी क्वालिटीज़ बता रहे हो जो कि डायरेक्टली रोल से रिलेटेड है, सब्जेक्ट मैटर नॉलेज से रिलेटेड है. एंड यहाँ पे आप एडिशनल पर्सनैलिटी एट्रीब्यूट्स बता रहे हो दैट यू हैव गॉन ओवर एंड बियॉन्ड, राइट? सो मेक श्योर यू आर डूइंग दिस. सो नाउ व्हाई डोंट यू टेक अ ब्रेक? आई एम गोइंग टू pause this video for 2 minutes, or you're going to pause this video for 2 minutes and write this out. 3 questions. Who am I? Why am I a great asset? Why should you hire me? Right? So let me show you this. So who are you? Why are you a great benefit? And why should we hire you? Whatever role you are applying for or are going to apply. Sorry. So yeah. Pause the video, take 2 minutes, and then see if you can come up with a good answer. Great. I hope now that you have written a great answer for this, you are able to understand that how to communicate these things, right? It's very important. I'm covering this psychology part first because you need to understand. Many people ask कि अच्छा ये cover करें ये नहीं cover करें. You will decide whether to say this or that according to this framework, be it your introduction, be it anywhere. Now, interviews are of three types normally. Casual questions that we are going to discuss today, introduction, strengths and weaknesses, all those kind of questions. Subject matter knowledge, in tech industry mainly coding and tech interviews, and then HR rounds, behavioral questions. Right. Behavioral questions will deal in another lecture. Coding and tech, subject matter knowledge also will deal with in another lecture. Today we are going to focus on casual questions. But the thing we discussed, make sure those things you are noting it down, understanding them, वही आपको बार बार बतानी है. So let's start with the first casual question that will come in any interview, be it tech interview. The first question that you will be asked is, hey, tell me about yourself, or why don't you introduce yourself, or I have your resume, why don't you take me through your resume, or a variant of it, right? You know, आपने ये सारे questions सुने होंगे, plan किए होंगे. I'm sure you must have prepared an answer for that. But the idea here is that you need to tell some basic details, right? Your brand statement, my name is this, I am a this, I am known for this, अगर आपने projects किए हैं, right? You can choose a framework, depends. आप present, past, future बताना चाहते हो या पहले education, experience और fit बताना चाहते हो, it's up to you, right? There are no advantages of one over another. Make sure there is some framework that you're following. I personally go with एजुकेशन एक्सपीरियंस एंड फिट, बट प्रेजेंट पास्ट फ्यूचर की अभी क्या कर रहे हैं, पहले क्या किया और आगे क्या प्लान्स हैं, ऑल्सो वर्क्स परफेक्टली फाइन, राइट. मेक श्योर you can make it better by making it personal to the company, adding some values which you have seen in their LinkedIn profile and you know they will appreciate. For example, Amazon appreciates people who can work in teams, who have worked in teams. So maybe in your introduction you can slip that in somewhere, right? Make sure your introduction is not a detailed answer. It's not over 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Ideally it should wrap up in 90 seconds or at least below 2 minutes. You are giving them a hint of everything, even your projects, everything, but you're not going into detail of anything. So basic details निकल के आनी चाहिए, education, skills and knowledge, experience and your personality traits. So why don't you do it? Right.
I'm Indrajit Yadav.
So let me play some of the responses that I have picked, curated from internet, from YouTube, from some mock interviews. Right. Let's listen to them and let's try to analyze क्या हो रहा है यहाँ. Okay, ready? Let's start.
I'm Indrajit Yadav and I'm from Bhiwani, Haryana, and I'm doing BTech from IIT Mandi. I'm currently in third year. I'm majoring in computer science. I like competitive programming and web development, and I have been doing competitive programming since for the last 1 year.
Okay, so imagine you heard this response in an interview. As an interviewer, right? How did you find it? Let me ask you, क्या information मिला about the candidate interviewer को? And I'm not commenting about, yes, you can comment that English better हो सकती थी. Yes, better हो सकती थी, but it's not bad. I'll not judge you, right? If you are saying this, I'll not judge you for your English. But there are other concerns that are there that you have to tell me. So one, if I ask you, interviewer को personality traits क्या पता चले, right? Why should we hire you का क्या आंसर मिला इसमें? Second, टेक्निकल रोल के लिए दिस कैंडिडेट इज अप्लाइंग फुल स्टैक डेवलपमेंट. टेक्निकल स्किल्स के बारे में क्या पता चला, लैंग्वेजेस क्या आती हैं, टेक स्टैक का नॉलेज क्या है, राइट? आई वॉन्ट यू टू लिसन टू दिस अगेन एंड सी क्या इंटरव्यू को इन दोनों में से कोई भी चीज पता चली. पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेट्स एंड टेक्नोलॉजी.
आई एम इंद्रजीत यादव एंड आई एम फ्रॉम भिवानी, हरियाणा, एंड आई एम डूइंग BTech from IIT Mandi. I am currently in third year. I am majoring in computer science. I like competitive programming and web development, and I have been doing competitive programming since for the last 1 year.
Right. So, did I get to know about his technical skills, the languages he knows? No. Did I get to know about his personality traits? Right. कि इसके अलावा क्या है आपके personality traits क्या है? No. And that's why this is not a good introduction. It's not because of language. It's not because of English. Yes, grammatical mistakes were there, but that's not the major concern. That's like the least concern here. But the good thing is short था, irrelevant personal information नहीं थी. कभी कभी लोग try to put in irrelevant personal information about their town, about their family and all that. But मुझे interview didn't get anything besides competitive programming. Nothing about tech abilities and nothing about the candidate's personality. Right. So make sure again, इंटरव्यूअर आपसे चाहता है अपने बारे में बताना कि आपको बेयर मिनिमम नॉलेज है या नहीं है जो मुझे चाहिए. आप फिट हो पाओगे कि नहीं हो पाओगे. शुड आई इन्वेस्ट इन यू और नॉट. एंड यहाँ पे मुझे नहीं पता चला इंटरव्यूअर को कि आपके पास बेयर मिनिमम नॉलेज भी है या नहीं है. आई हैव टू आस्क मोर क्वेश्चंस. Let's listen to another response.
Okay, so my name is Vasu Khan and I am currently a final year student at KIT University Bhubaneswar. Right, my stream is information technology and I am currently placed as an associate success agent at Salesforce. Right, so a little bit about my technical side. I am really into development and the coding aspect of computer science. Right, technologies like machine learning and web development really excite me. And that is exactly the reason why over the course of my engineering term, over the term of my engineering, I've done a lot of projects, big and small, which basically revolve around these technologies. The way I approached this was I started from the smaller projects just to understand the concepts behind the technologies so that I can ultimately work on bigger projects, right? So that was it. And I've inculcated technologies like machine learning and a lot of classification problems into the projects I've done, which we'll discuss. And yeah, apart from that, I'm also into competitive coding since a while now. It's been, I think, 1.5 years. I've been rigorously doing competitive coding over several platforms like LeetCode, HackerRank, etc. And yeah, that's about me. And apart from that, my hobbies, speaking of co-curriculars, I'm a little bit into public speaking and I'm into photography, yeah.
Okay, let's analyze this. So first, he speaks well, English is good, but as I told you, English is not the first concern. Let's ask ourselves, what did we get to know about him, right? We got to know about ki machine learning. He said machine learning 3 or 4 times at least. Ki machine learning mein he has done a lot of projects, but we don't know the name of any projects. We know that he is into web development and we got to know that he is into competitive coding on various platforms, but again we don't know ki what rank does he have in that. And lastly, we got to know about his interests. So we got to know a lot information, but it was repetitive, right? Better than the first one, but first it was a bit long, repetitive. Try to make sure your introduction is not repetitive. Second, if rather than mentioning कि मैंने बहुत सारे small और बड़े projects किए हैं, I have done a lot of small and big projects, at least tell 1 or 2 names of the biggest projects that you have done. You don't need to explain them. But rather than saying again and again, I have done a lot of projects, I have done small and big projects 3 times in your introduction, say it 1 time or at least in the second time, tell about the name. And definitely talk about different languages. Yes, machine learning is there, web development is there. Is there anything else that you have experienced, especially the languages that you know? So make sure this is coming out. अगर ये नहीं बाहर आ रहा है तो even if your English is impressive, right, it's not going to save you. So good English, no irrelevant personal info, talked about experience, great internship and the project's interest, but I didn't get to know which projects and which technical stack he has used, only that he is into machine learning and web development. So make sure you are making it concise, not repeating and telling about the tech stack that you are using. Great. Let's listen to third response.
Yeah, sir. So good evening, sir. My name is Yogesh Yogendra and currently I'm in 3rd year and I'm pursuing my BTech from Academy of Technology and I am a competitive programmer as well as a web developer. So currently I am a problem setter at Hacker Earth, and I have done 2 internships and I have 3 months of experience. In the first internship, I was working as a front-end developer in which I was developing the front-end UI, and the application in which I was working, it was basically a doctor consultant application. So, and in the second internship, I was working both front end and back end, and we were working in a team, and I was leading my team. So, whenever I was facing any difficulties or my team members were facing any difficulties, so basically we were helping each other and we were building the application. It was something like the medium.com. It was similar to that, and some extra features were there. And yeah, this is about myself.
Great. How did you find this? Let's analyze this. Again, asking yourself this question, what information did the interview get from this? Right. Comparatively, English of the second response was better than this one, but I like this response because he tried to basically go into his experience, क्या projects किए हैं, right? And then maybe talking about qualities कि we use to help each other in the project and all that. Still, this could have been a bit better, telling me about at least in a line की languages क्या use की हैं. Second, make sure if you're telling some name, for example medium.com, right, either you're very sure that medium.com pata hi hoga, medium.com is so known like Google, or add 2 or 3 words description, medium.com, a micro blogging website, just to be on the safe side in case the other person, the interviewer, doesn't know what medium.com is, right? It was short, no irrelevant personal information, talked about experience, talked about tech projects, try to talk about personality, right? Yes, the language could have been better, but make sure adding one line about the tech languages, stacks that you are using, and also the medium.com thing, just saying this instead of this. Let me play it.
Yeah, sir. So good evening. It was something like the medium.com. It was similar to that, and
So just adding that it was similar to medium.com, a microblogging website with additional features, right? Just to be on the safe side in case medium.com is not that known. Great. So we analyzed 3 responses, 3 different introductions, right? With the same framework, with the same mindset कि interviewer को आप क्या information दे पा रहे हो, and is interviewer getting the information that he's looking for. You can see the difference between 3 interviews, right? Although सब introduction थे, तीनों में नाम तो बताया ही था, right? Bare minimum information was there, but you can see the difference between response 1 and response 3. Make sure you are practicing your introduction and then going into an interview. And this is where you will pause the video and try to come up with a 1 minute to 90-second interview. Remember, you are talking about yourself in a very summary way. You're talking about your basic details, education, then relevant information. In a tech interview, what will be the relevant information? Projects, internships, and आप क्या languages में comfortable हो, right? And in the end, your personality traits, pick 1-2 personality traits or interest. I'm not asking you to give details in that, but 2 lines on personality traits will make your introduction perfect. So pause your video here, pause the lecture here, and why don't you try it out for 90 seconds and we'll continue. Okay, so I'm sure that you have basically prepared your introduction. Try saying it, try recording it, and maybe send it to me. You will find the link below, right? Now there are other tricky situations that can come up in an interview, right? So tricky situations can be negative questions like tell me about a situation where you failed, right? Situations like in your resume, if you have never worked or no recent work experience. Let me take a situation where the interviewer, you have given your answer, but the interviewer is not saying anything. The interviewer is not note taking or silent बैठे. What would you do in that situation? You have said your answer, maybe to a question, a tech question, and the interviewer is not saying anything. What would you do? Now here, I know the situation can be quite nerve-wracking, right? But here what you have to do is, don't start blabbering. कुछ भी बोलना मत start कर दो. Just say that would you like me to add more to the answer? You are asking कि मेरा आंसर खत्म हो गया है, would you like me to add more? And let the interviewer answer yes, no or whatever. If he still says silent, right, just after a few seconds repeat कि sir, would you like to, are you able to listen to me? Would you like me to expand the answer more? Right. Don't start blabbering. Don't start saying anything that is coming to your mind just because you are feeling nervous. Right. Most interviewers don't do it, these type of things, but you never know. Similarly, there are other tricky situations that can be there. Your marks are low, salary expectations, right? Asking for the reason for leaving last job, no references or proprietary information. So make sure you are prepared for these situations. Depending upon the interviewer, you may get asked any of these or may not get asked any of these, but make sure any weak point that is on your resume, you are prepared for it. Rather than leaving कि पूछेगा तो क्या होगा, पूछेगा तो क्या होगा. Always the one key thing is, even in negative situations, maybe asking you कि fail हो गए तो क्यों fail हो गए, always try to show the growth mindset. Acknowledge कि मैं fail हुआ, but I learned something from it, right? It's more about your mindset rather than defending कि नहीं मैं तो perfect हूँ, ऐसे ही fail हो गया, right? In any situation, make sure that you are showing your growth mindset, learning mindset. If you are able to do that, most of these situations will be beneficial for you. Okay, let's analyze some more questions and answers. Standard. So one of the standard question is talking about strengths and weaknesses. It can be tell me about your strengths and weaknesses, or tell me about your strength, or tell me about your weakness. So how would you answer it? Again, the interviewer is not specifically interested in knowing your particular strength or particular weakness. He or she is interested in knowing about your personality trait, and आप जिस तरीके से बता रहे हो वो आपके बारे में क्या शो करता है, right? Arrogant हो, overconfident हो, confident हो, right? So in strength, make sure that if there is something written in their LinkedIn profile, for example, Amazon has list of 12 or 13 values that they want in their employee. If you are applying in such organization, make sure your greatest strength has to be somewhere around those values. Right? Choose one or two specific examples and try to describe them using a situation. Right? It should not look like prepared. You are talking about your greatest strength. It should not कि आप सोच रहे हो वहाँ, तो make sure you are so prepared for it कि आप नींदों में भी बोल सके, और you can speak on this even in your dreams, right? So more or less these are the 10 most desirable traits that all employees want to see in their employees. Right? I'm not giving you examples, I'm giving you the traits that everyone loves to see कि मेरी टीम में कोई नया person आ रहा है. Either a proven track record as an achiever, right? Achiever, ये trophy, ये certificate and all that. People like to see that kind of person. Intelligence, management savvy. I like to manage things. I like to basically get out of tricky situations. You can give some examples. Honesty, integrity, a decent human being. That you are honest, you are not crafty, you are not cunning, you are not saying things just for the sake of saying things in the interview. Good fit with the corporate culture. You are a team player. You like to work in a team. You know how to work in a team. You try to basically, even in your college projects, you have shown this, that you try to mend differences, right? You know what you're talking about, but also you are not the one जो कि team को break करने की कोशिश करे. Positive attitude, right? Even in tough situations, you are always thinking about positive attitude. कि अच्छा, how can we do it? Rather than going into depression, you are going into, oh, let's do it. Good communication skills. This you don't have to say. Either you will be able to show them during your interview or you won't. So don't say good communication skills if you think that in an interview your communication skills are not that great. Dedication, willingness, right? कि this person is like घुस जाता है and करके दिखाता है. If you can show by some example that you are ready to put extra effort to achieve the task. It might be not the most efficient way to achieve it, but you can get things done. So make sure this is something that employer wants you in. Enthusiasm, high level of motivation, confident, healthy, a leader. So these are largely the desirable traits. You can't and you should not show all of them. इतना time नहीं है आपके पास. सो पिक 2 or 3 जिनके आप एग्जाम्पल्स दे पाओ थ्रू आउट योर कॉलेज लाइफ, सोशल लाइफ, पर्सनल लाइफ, एकेडमिक लाइफ, एंड ट्राई टू बेसिकली इन इंटरव्यू बार बार उसी को लेके आना है कि नहीं मैं तो बहुत स्ट्रक्चर्ड इंसान हूँ, मैं बहुत ही पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड वाला हूँ, गो गेट इट एटीट्यूड है मेरा, एंड वो दिखना चाहिए आपके एग्जाम्पल्स के थ्रू आउट द इंटरव्यू. इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट वन क्वेश्चन, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल next question can be the greatest weakness that you have, right? Now here there are different strategies that you can go for. I personally like to say that I would not accept that I have a weakness. I would say that there are some things that I don't know, but because of my learning attitude I don't count them as weakness. People may count that as weakness, right? For example, I'll say that nobody's perfect, but based on what you have told me about this position, I believe I'd make an outstanding match. I know for success दो चीज़ें चाहिए, qualifications and motivation to do it well, right? I have both these things. There might be some things there might be some knowledge gaps or some things that I may not know, and I'm sure I don't know them, but because of my learning attitude, because of my motivation, I don't count them as weakness. I just count them as things that I have not encountered yet, right? So people may think of it as a weakness that you don't know this, but I always believe if you have a learning attitude, this is not a weakness, this is just an exposure issue, and I'm sure that in your company I'll get that exposure and correct that weakness. So you're not acknowledging कि कोई weakness है, right? Even if you're acknowledging कोई weakness है, you're saying that this is just, I'll overcome that because of my learning attitude. Don't say it's good कि यहाँ पे आप थोड़ा overconfident हो कि नहीं डोंट ट्राई टू बेसिकली गिव देम एन एक्चुअल वीकनेस जो कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल डोंट से आई डोंट लाइक टू टॉक टू पीपल, राइट? इवन इफ यू डोंट लाइक टू टॉक टू पीपल एंड यू आर सेइंग बीइंग ऑनेस्ट इन एन इंटरव्यू, फॉर एन इंटरव्यू दिस इज कि खुद ही बोल रहा है कि यू डोंट लाइक टू टॉक टू पीपल, कंपनी में आके तो क्या ही होगा, राइट? सो हियर ऑनेस्टी इज नॉट द बेस्ट पॉलिसी टू बी ऑनेस्ट, राइट? बट ऑलवेज मेक श्योर दैट आंसर आपको इतना ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिस दो, बिकॉज इंटरव्यूअर आपसे ज़्यादा एक्सपीरियंस है, उसने भी ये सब ट्राई किया हुआ है, ही कैन सी थ्रू यू, एंड सो मेक श्योर आपका आंसर इतना पिच परफेक्ट हो, इतना रिहर्स दो कि लगे ना रिहर्स्ड है. ओके, अनदर स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चन, टेल मी अबाउट योर इंटरेस्ट्स, राइट? Again, we are picking up standard questions that come in general interviews, and we are trying to analyze the psychology of the interviewer, right? Now, what can be the psychology of thought process of an interviewer in this? क्यों पूछ रहा है आपके इंटरेस्ट के बारे में? Wait, the reason is he wants to know more about your interest to see what are your personality traits. एंड अभी तक आपने जो इंटरव्यू में बताया है कि आप, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने इंटरव्यू में बताया कि यू आर समवन हु इज़ वेरी प्रोएक्टिव, राइट? एंड आपके इंटरेस्ट में एक भी ऐसा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है जो प्रोएक्टिविटी शो करता हो, तो दिस इज अ कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन. अगेन दे वॉन्ट टू सी दैट एवरीवन लाइक्स टू वर्क विद पीपल हु हैव डिफरेंट इंटरेस्ट इन देयर लाइफ, राइट? सो it doesn't really matter what your actual interests are as long as there are interests, right? Even some people like to work with creative people, some people like to work with basically people who keep physically fit, some people like to work with people who can show that they are into cooking and other kind of skills, right? So make sure that you are picking at least 2 of your interests and telling them, and make sure your interest is not only watching TV and movies. It's such a passive interest, और वो सबका होता है almost, right? So if you're telling my interest is watching TVs and movies, right, add 2 more interests into that. It can be games, it can be gaming, it can be physical sports, it can be watching sports, right? You are an avid follower of that, right? It can be reading books, it can be cooking, designing, right? Music. So make sure you are not talking about only passive interest कि मैं बैठे बैठे टीवी देखता रहता हूँ, right? The interviewer is not interested in your actual interest, right? He is not going to say कि अच्छा कुकिंग आती है कि नहीं आती तो चाय बना दो, right? So this is to know, again this is answering why should you hire me. आपने उससे पहले आंसर किए अपने पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेड्स, नॉलेज के बारे में, अब आप और ऊपर बता रहे हो कि देखो आई एम अ क्रिएटिव पर्सन, और आई एम अ पर्सन हु लाइक्स टू कीप माई सेल्फ फिट बिकॉज आई एम इन टू फिजिकल स्पोर्ट, एंड दैट एड्स टू माई प्रोडक्टिविटी. right? Here I'm not telling you the actual answer, I'm telling you the thought process, because in interviews I've seen many people rehearse करके आ जाते हैं दो इंटरेस्ट, या उनके इंटरेस्ट होते हैं हमेशा impromptu कि I like to watch action movies. This is not a good interest to have, the only interest that you can have, right? Okay, now last standard question that we'll deal with, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Right. It's a pretty standard question, and many people, many freshers just bungle up this question, right? The idea here is that I'm not interested to know the exact position that you're going for. So don't answer that I want to be a CTO, I want to be a senior developer, I want to basically. Again, I'm looking for कि आपके clarity of thought क्या है. Do you have plans in your mind that in 5 years मैं ये करना चाहता हूँ, and उसके अंदर आपका attitude क्या है? Are you aspirational? Are you motivational? Right? So naming the promotions is not going to work out. Let me give you an answer and try to judge it whether it's a good answer or not. The funda here is that interviewer wants to know that you are ready to make a long-term commitment. Right? You don't have to say exactly that I am going to stay here. आपसे पेपर साइन नहीं करवा रहे हैं, but he wants to know that your next 5 years plan के अंदर company is playing a major role that you are applying for. You can't say that in next year I'm going to apply for Google and that's where I want to be in. That feels like that you are using this company as a stepping stone. Don't do that, right? With your answer, you have to show that you are ready to commit to this company. This company will play a major role in your future growth, and you have decided upon your future growth. So one answer can be, okay. For the next couple of years, I would like to immerse myself in this job and improve my skills around it. After which I would like to take an additional responsibilities and help others in the organization with my expertise, right? Again, very short and sweet answer, but it shows one, I'm aspirational, I'm ready to take additional responsibilities, I'm ready to learn and improve my skills, and this all I'm ready to do with your company. I'm not talking about promotions. Additional responsibilities means promotions in some level, right? But I'm not saying I want to be a senior developer, I want to be a CTO, I want to basically work in Facebook, Google and all that. So make sure thought process is very clear when you're designing the answer. Length does not matter. Another option can be, I'm definitely interested in making a long-term commitment to my next position, which is yours. Judging by what you have told me about this position, is exactly what I'm looking for and I'm qualified to do. In terms of my future career path, I'm confident that if I do my work with excellence, opportunities will inevitably come up for me. It's always been in my life, and I'm confident that I'll get similar opportunities with you. Again, telling them again and again and again, yes, I want to grow. Yes, I want to basically take more responsibilities. Yes, I want to get promotions, but I can see that your company will provide me with those opportunities. Right. Again, don't ask. Many students have asked me, but हम तो 5 year नहीं commit कर सकते इस company में. Nobody is asking you to do so. But in the interview saying that कि मेरे plans मुझे पता नहीं है, शायद मैं next year US चला जाऊँ, is just you are blundering your interview. No company would want to invest in someone जो कि guaranteed या जो खुद सोच के बैठा है कि मैं 1 साल बाद US जाने के लिए apply करूँगा, even if you are an excellent candidate. For them it's an investment जो कि जिसके returns नहीं मिलने वाले. So say these things even if you are not decided whether you'll stay with this company. Plans change. Maybe the company will decide that something else, right? But don't say these things. Don't show your aspiration by saying that, oh, I would try to be applying a bigger company after 2 years, right? Don't try to basically demonize them by saying that कि आप तो बहुत छोटी company है. So this is what the today's session was all about. Let me summarize this for you, right? And please make sure that you're preparing these standard questions before going in the interview. Good books you have read lately. Again, if you don't like to read books, you don't have to lie here, but make sure at least एक किसी book का, and that book cannot be what you read in a school time. Make some book related to your field, उसके बारे में पढ़ जाओ ताकि उसके बारे में बता पाओ. You don't have to tell it 2 or 3 books. If you're an avid reader, go for it. So make sure these are some standard questions. You can take a snapshot, you can take a screenshot, and you're preparing for these questions. Also what we have prepared, but let me summarize it for you. the summary eventually lies here, what we discussed, right? So any interview, what you're trying to do is you're telling them why should they hire you के अंदर उससे पहले कुछ क्वेश्चंस के अंदर आपको बताना है कि आपको बेसिक स्किल्स, सब्जेक्ट मैटर नॉलेज आती हैं, लैंग्वेजेस आती हैं, राइट, प्रोजेक्ट्स किए हैं आपने. देन आपको अपने पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेट्स बार बार शो करने हैं, अपने एटीट्यूड बार बार शो करना है कि सी आई हैव दीज पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेट्स विच विल बी गुड फॉर योर कंपनी. You need to make sure that the interview is again coming, that you have a learning attitude, you have a positive attitude, and I'm going to stay with your company, right? And last is you need to practice these responses so that आप पहली बार या दूसरी बार जाके इंटरव्यू में नहीं बोल रहे हो. ट्रस्ट मी, दिस लुक्स सिंपल कि ये सब तो हमारे बारे में हम बता देंगे जाके, बट दिस इज वन ऑफ द हार्डेस्ट पार्ट. You have spent years in your college, or at least the final year in your college, perfecting your tech skills, projects, interviews, standard DSA questions and all that, business questions. But this also requires equal attention, which many people don't give, and then they think कि English की वजह से कट गया. English is the last reason. It can be a reason, right? But उसके अंदर that we'll discuss in the another lecture. But make sure you are able to answer who are you, why are you a great benefit, and why should they hire you, and then the standard questions response will come to you. So this brings to our end of this lecture of our interview communication series. Please watch other parts, and if you have comments or if you want me to cover specific question, do put them into comments and I'll be happy to take them out. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me on Instagram also. Bye bye, have a nice day.